Let's see. Awesome. All right. We are live. Our final ISN tennis pod of the year for our first year in business. Back with G Dash, host of Spin the Racket Pod. G Dash, how we doing?
Doing all right. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday indeed. And first time joiner, Jake Sharp from the Discord. How we doing, Jake?
Doing well. Tommy Fleetwood has the lead after round 2. We'll see if he can hang on.
Yeah, I know. I'm there with you, and I'm not confident, but we'll see. Fingers crossed for us. But really pumped.
Not spending the money yet.
Yeah, that's right. Fourth slam of the year, guys. I'm so pumped. Gerard, I will see you in New York next week. Couldn't be more excited. It'll be a good time. Back to the hard courts. It's been treating us well. Cincinnati, Washington. It's been great. So any overarching thoughts? We'll throw it to you, Gerard, as to hard court season, thoughts going into the US Open before we get into the specific draw.
It's been a good year. I think overall, obviously there's been a lot of good tennis played. You look at the men's tour right now, and everyone has eyes on Sinner and Alcaraz and who they're going to have in their draws and that sort of thing. Obviously the women, there's been a different Grand Slam winner every single slam so far this year. So we'll see if that trend continues or if there'll be a repeat champion. But yeah, a lot of good storylines.
Pumped. Jake, any thoughts as we go into the US Open?
On the men's side, similar to everyone else, I think it's probably going to be Sinner Alcaraz. Ben Shelton is the one other guy that I've kind of got my eye on. And on the women's side, it seems pretty open. The first 3 had champions that I would not have expected beforehand, and we'll see what happens this time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more on the men's side. It seems like there's 2, maybe 2.5 there. Shelton, that was a really solid 1,000 win on the hard court. So credit where credit's due. I think he's earned his way into being considered a dark horse here. And on the women's side, as you said, really other than Iga's kind of creeping back into that Iga status, it seems a little bit wide open though, as per usual. So same format as usual. We'll go quarter by quarter. We'll go through the 4 quarters on the ATP side, talk about our favorite matches, who we think may come out of each quarter, and then talk about our outrights. And then we'll go to the WTA side and do the same. So Let's get after it. Give me a moment while I try to figure out how to share a screen here, but go into quarter 1. All right. All righty. So apologies because the corner is going to be a little cut off, but that's a Sinner match in the top left. So I think we already have feelings there. Really interesting quarter overall. I think you have a lot of throwback names. Rusevori back from a mental health break. You have a Silic-Bublik match, really throwback that way. And then on the right side, you have a dark horse in this quarter looking like Jack Draper. Cavalli's been playing really well across the year. Mepeshi Perikar has had a really good tournament this week and going against a tough matchup with Musetti. Gerard, throwing it to you. What do you have? What do you have as the most exciting match that's really caught your eye in this quarter?
Yeah, a few interesting little nuggets here. I think first off, obviously Sinner has like a little section there that's somewhat easy, I think, for him to kind of just breeze past some of those folks. But looking at that Shapovalov-Fucsovics match first round, obviously Shapo has struggled a bit this year with his performance, a little bit up and down. I think that could be a good upset alert there. If he's like Fucsovics, he's been playing pretty well, had a good week in Winston-Salem. I think he could probably take that against Shapo in that first round. I like to see the Musetti-Teshi Perikard matchup there. I think that one's a fun one. Obviously, big serve and Teshi Perikard. Musetti, obviously, great talent. So that'll be a good one. I don't know if it'll go 5 or not, but it'll definitely be a fun match to watch. And then lastly, I think for me, obviously seeing Diallo down there with Draper kind of lurking, I think that's an interesting third round potential matchup there with two guys that hit pretty big.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, what matches catch your eye?
Now, if not for whatever that was on Monday in Cincinnati, I would have expected Sinner to cruise through this quarter. But if he's not 100% physically, I think Papiron could give him a run for it in the second round. My guess is he's probably fine, but have to see him play before we really know. And then I'm also eyeing up that Diallo versus Draper potential round 3 match on the bottom half. Diallo is an up-and-comer, but I think he's kind of been in a slump the past few tournaments. And then Jack Draper hasn't played in a while and didn't look very good in the mixed doubles. So, but after he has a chance to kind of work into this tournament, my guess is he'll be in a little bit better form by the time we get to round 3 or round 4.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree with you more. I think that Jack Draper is going to be really interesting to watch after he gets, a couple. I'm curious to see who he goes up against here, and maybe we already know, but curious to see who he goes up in that first round. But overall, I think he'll be an interesting guy to keep an eye on. With Gerard, I think that Chapeau match is one to keep an eye on. Fuchsovich has had a very good tournament this week. Upset alerts probably right there, as you mentioned. I think the match I'm really excited about is Cilic and Bublik. I think Cilic has the upset tagged right now. He's almost like a 2-1 underdog to Bublik, who's had an amazing year and an amazing hardcourt season back to it. But Cilic head to head has the advantage. He's had some really high highs this year as well. So curious to see how that turns out. For me, it's going to be pretty chalky, but I think Yannick Sinner comes out of this quarter. There may be some value in looking at somebody like a Draper, but it just seems pretty straightforward here. What about you, Gerard? Thoughts on who comes out of the quarter?
Yeah, it's so tough. I mean, obviously, Sinner's just playing incredibly well. It's like who can beat him other than like an injury at this point. So yeah, I agree. I think he kind of comes through that.
Jake?
Yeah, Sinner's right physically. He's going to win this quarter.
Yep, it's as straightforward as that. Quarter 2. Let's see. I should be quicker at this by now, but it's all good. All right. So quarter 2, Zverev as the top seed in this quarter. And then on the other end of it would be de Minaur. Really, really interesting quarter as well. I think this quarter is a little bit more wide open. While Zverev is the favorite, rightfully so, I think you have a in good form Kachanov. You have a de Minaur who's also in good form, coming off another tournament win. Mihailovic, maybe a little bit of a dark horse here. Throwing it to Jake first. Jake, what matches catch your eye? What matches feel most interesting?
I'll start over on the bottom right of this draw with that Tsitsipas section. Tsitsipas has just been terrible all year, so I don't think he makes it to round 3. The question is just whether does he lose to Mueller in round 1 or to Altmaier or Medjedovic in round 2. And then on the other side, I kind of like Ugo Humbert as a potential dark horse.
Yeah, I think that's quite interesting, and I couldn't agree more on Stefano. I think it's a really good call. I think my assumption is he's out in the first round, or maybe he wins in like 5. But if not, I could see him being out in the second round. Gerard, what matches look good to you in this quarter?
Yeah, I think you're right, Rish. I mean, this is kind of a quarter of opportunity here where there's definitely some players that probably trying to redeem their seasons in this quarter. I'm looking at, first off, it's interesting to see Khachanov go against Spassaveretti from the U.S. I think that's kind of a young gun who's making his way up in the tour, but obviously Khachanov's a grizzled veteran, so it'll be an interesting match. I don't know if Spassaveretti gets the upset or not, but that's one to circle on your draw there. Arnaldi Cerundolo, I think, will be a really good one. Arnaldi definitely has really good hardcourt game. Like, he has a big serve, big forehand, a lot of energy and passion. Obviously, Cerundolo has a little bit of an up and down year so far, so that one I'm also looking at. And then lastly, seeing FAA up against a qualifier, you think on paper, like, okay, we got this, but he's also someone who just sometimes disappoints in like the big matches for some reason. So I don't know. We'll see how far he goes.
Yeah, no, it's some good calls to FAA. Yeah, I mean, I honestly, he could really like win the quarter or he could lose first round. It's really the spectrum that he goes with. two guys that I'm keeping an eye on, and I mentioned Mihajlovic as a dark horse. I forgot that Rublev's in this quarter as well. Certainly has looked pretty good this hard court season, so he could certainly come out of this as well. Starting with myself, I guess the guy who I think is going to win the quarter, I think it's De Minaur. I think he's in the most in form. I think he has a path that's certainly feasible. I think the toughest match he would have is a potential against Mihajlovic in advance of maybe a potential against Kachanov on that side of the quarter. If he faces up with Zverev, I think he matches up quite well. So I think De Minaur takes the quarter. Jake, what say you?
Yeah, I think there's a couple guys that could win this quarter. My pick is Rublev. I think he's finally going to do it. He's been in the quarters a number of times, but never made a semi.
I love it. G-Dash, who do we like?
I'm still pretty big on Sasha. I know he has not been able to get to that final or get a chance to win a final rather, but he can advance here pretty deep. So I pick Sasha.
I love it. We have three different quarters, three different winners to play the quarter to win the quarter. The other guy, I guess we shouldn't forget, Gael Monfils can make a couple. He plays for only these tournaments now, and this is a draw that he could actually do something with. I could see him going 2 or 3 rounds. It'll be interesting though.
I saw Monfils at -120 for his first round match. That looks pretty attractive to me.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's certainly a good value, and I think I was on that as well. He plays to be under the lights, and there's no bigger show than this. So fully agree with you guys. On to quarter 3 here. Bear with me. Alrighty. Another potential quarter of opportunity. So the top seed in the quarter here, as you see, is Djokovic playing Lerner Teen. Sorry, again, it's covered up there, but that's actually a really interesting first round match. On the other side, the top seed would be Taylor Fritz, who's had a really good year on all accounts. And then the other top seeds would be Menchik and Holger Rune. So going for the favorite matches in the quarter, G-Dash, who are we keeping an eye on?
This is also kind of a mouth-watering little section here. A lot of potential. I'm looking at Cam Norrie and Sebi Korda. That will be a very, very interesting first-round battle. Norrie's had some pretty good results. I think Korda is kind of coming back from an injury, so it would be interesting to see his form and how he's feeling out there. But that one can go the distance. Tiafoe Nishioka is an interesting one. I'm pretty sure Nishioka is one of a few players on the list that Tiafoe did not want to see in the first round. He's lost to him the last 2 times that they've played, so that'll be one to watch as a potential upset alert. But Big Fo loves the U.S. Open. He gets a lot of energy from the crowd and the people here, so hopefully he can get past that one. But that one's one to circle. And then lastly, for me, Fonseca Kecmanovic. I think that'll be a fun battle of some good ground strokers. Fonseca's obviously a crowd favorite wherever he goes. He just brings out the Brazilian crowd. So that'll be cool to see.
Fully agree with you. Those are some exciting matches. And I'm not a Fonseca hater, but I feel like there's such an other end of the spectrum, and I'm not on that end of the spectrum. I just think there's more attractive young players to keep an eye on. So I could certainly see an upset in that first round. Jake, what about you? What first round matchups you keeping an eye on in this quarter?
Yeah, I agree about Fonseca versus Kecmanovic. I kind of see an upset there. I do think Fonseca is going to be good, but it's not his time quite yet. And then I'm interested to see Novak versus Tien on Sunday night. We haven't seen Novak play since Wimbledon, and Tien is probably the kind of guy that Novak would rather not play in his first match out. I think he can make him work harder than Novak would like to. And then from a betting perspective, Holger Rune is only like -220 against Boda van de Zandschulp, and I just don't think Boda VDZ is that good. So I think Rune at -220 is definitely a good parlay piece at least.
Yeah, no, those are some good calls. The 2 players that I'm keeping an eye on as far as I don't even know about dark horses, but just players that I want to, keep watching. I've said it before. Nakashima is always some guy. I think his game is just slowly improving. I think he could make a run in this quarter. And then, as we've mentioned, and this week we've been on Darwin Blanche. Love watching the young kid play. Within, a second round match with Blanche and Tiafoe would be a really good, that would have all the lights on it. So that would be really fun. As far as a 5-set first round match, I could see Komasana and Mikkelsen going the distance. Those guys just run after the third set. Komasana will probably take a cigarette break on the court, but they will literally be chasing after each other all match. I could see that one going the distance. So maybe over in the total. I think it was about 37, 38 games. If it goes 5, it should get there pretty quickly. Gerard, who do we like to win this quarter? Which, again, another quarter that seems pretty wide open.
Yeah, definitely a few folks that kind of have little stars by on my paper draw over here. But I think the vet, Novak Djokovic, I think he comes through. Like, I think if he gets, to that quarter up against Fritz, I think he can take it.
Jake, what about you? Who do you like to win the quarter?
I think ultimately we're going to have Novak versus Taylor Fritz in the quarterfinal. I think that'll probably be a night match with the crowd all on Taylor Fritz's side. And I think that probably pulls the American through.
I love that. I think that we get a Tiafoe Novak match to set up to who's in the final of this quarter. And I think it can go either way that way. I think we get a Fritz Tiafoe decider here. And I think it might be Francis Tiafoe's time to get through here. So in the sake of pushing us all in different directions here, I'll take Francis Tiafoe to win this quarter. I think there's a lot of value on him. I think he's in a very winnable part of the quarter. I do think that Rune, while he has a ton of talent, coaches are always oscillating while BVZ is not good. He's like kind of the type of player that'll just like somehow win set, maybe 2 against Rune as well. So while Rune is 2-0 against BVZ, I think that could make it a little bit frustrating. But yeah, in that matchup, if ultimately Tiafoe ends up against Rune, I think Tiafoe gets through there, gets through against Djokovic, gets through against Fritz. A lot to put on the guy, but he shows up for the lights. So I like Tiafoe to come out here. Jake likes Fritz. And Gerard likes Novak.
Mm-hmm.
All
Fritz
right.
and Tiafoe played in the semis here last year, so maybe Fritz gets him back this time. Or maybe Tiafoe gets him back.
Tiafoe gets him back. That's right. There is something, and what do you guys think about as we're, this is also for me to buy time to switch screens. What do you guys think about the American advantage in New York? Gerard, you think there's like a significant advantage being an American under the lights in this tournament? You think they go to a different level for this?
Definitely. I feel like the US Open's almost kind of like a spectacle of a Grand Slam. It's one that brings out not just tennis fans, but folks who just like that atmosphere and enjoy kind of a party scene, a lot of energy and excitement. So I do think that being an American at the US Open is a huge advantage, and the New York crowd is definitely not shy enough in terms of standing up and yelling for their favorite player there.
I love it. And yeah, we've been there and we've felt that energy, especially at night. It gets a little bit crazy, maybe a little bit too rowdy. Jake, what about from a betting standpoint? Do you factor that in? Like when you're thinking about the betting numbers, hey, they're going to be in front of New York, in front of the lights against a foreigner who's, not going to have the crowds behind them.
I don't know how much I actually factored into betting numbers, but in a close situation, then that might push me over the edge on something. I think it definitely is a factor, though. Coco Gauff, I do not think would have won that final against Sabalenka 2 years ago, if not for the crowd kind of pulling her over the line.
And she usually does have the crowd behind her, so I mean that's usually the case. But I certainly hear you. It seems to make a difference. All right, let me pull up this quarter 4. All right, so this is really interesting. So Carlos Alcaraz is on the bottom right. You have Ben Shelton at the top left against, he's going against a qualifier, just if it's covered up there, apologies. Medvedev, US Open truther, So we have a really interesting quarter here. You could say it's a little bit open just because of who's in the quarter. Obviously, Carlos is the favorite, but there is some steep competition to get out of this quarter. Jake, over to you. What matches do you think are highlighted as must watches?
I'll start with Alcaraz versus Opelka. I don't think Opelka can win, but I would be interested in him on a games line. You can probably take him to a couple tie breaks. And then Medvedev versus Banzai is a Wimbledon rematch, so that'll be interesting. And then I just want to see how Ben Shelton looks in his first couple matches. Is the pressure of kind of being a quote-unquote favorite starting to get to him, or does he look as good as he did a couple weeks ago?
Yeah, good points. Good points across the board. Gerard, what matches are you looking forward to?
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to see how Casper Ruud does in his first round. Offner's not necessarily a dangerous opponent, but I know Ruud's had a little bit of a break, and so it'd be good to see his form coming into the Open. I also like to see Rinky Hijikata against Dartery that first round. Rinky played at UNC. I'm always a fan of the college players that go on a tour. I think it'd be fun to watch to see if he can pull the upset over Dartery as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we wouldn't be an ISN show if we didn't call out Elliot Spizzirri, Andy Lack's cousin, who's favored in his first round match. So quite interesting there. I also think Borna Coric and Lehecka is a little bit interesting. Lehecka has played all right, fairly well for his quality through the hardcourt season. Borna Coric has been coming back. He used to be a top 20 player. While he's had a couple losses in a row, he's had tough matchups, but he looks really solid. The upset I think we'll get is Mannarino over Griekspoor. Talon's not played well as of late. Mannarino is just a frustrating player that'll get every ball back. Over 5 sets, I think that can add up and compound. So I like Mannarino to get there, and really I could see him getting to another Shelton match where I think he actually took a set maybe off Shelton a couple of weeks ago, but Shelton should find his way to the top of this quarter potentially. Jake, who do you like to win the quarter?
I'm going to pick Ben Shelton. Carlos, I think, could have some trouble in round 2 versus Bellucci or Shang. He'll probably win. But then I think he either loses to Medvedev in the round of 16 or Shelton takes him out in the quarters.
Gerard, how we feeling?
Yeah. You already know I'm a huge Ben Shelton fan. If I had to be different, obviously, I mean, I see Shelton and Carlos going at each other there in the quarters. So, it's a toss up in my mind. I'll go Carlos just to be fun, though.
Well, now I have to find somebody else. Yeah, no, I think Carlito gets through here. He similarly, I think he gets bored on the tennis court quite often, and in electric atmospheres, he lives for it. And as we've talked about multiple times on this show, I don't think there's a more electric atmosphere here. So I think Carlos gets through here and wins the quarter. All right, so we've gone through the 4 quarters. Who do we like on the men's side to win the tournament? And who do we think's getting to the final, I guess, too? Jake, over to you first.
I'll say my pick is my pick to win the tournament is Jannik Sinner. I'm not betting it at plus 100 with the uncertainty about where he is physically coming in. And then since I picked a Taylor Fritz versus Ben Shelton semifinal, I'll say Shelton beats Fritz and gets to the final. So
Jannik over Shelton in the final.
Yeah.
I love it. Gerard, how we feeling? What do we think? Are we going to get a Jannik Carlito final?
I mean, it's so hard to bet against that. I mean, obviously they look super, super sharp. I think, on paper, it makes the most sense. And I wouldn't mind watching that again to see who gets the better of the two this time. So yeah, I'll go with Sinner, Alcaraz, but I think Alcaraz to win the tournament here.
Yeah, man, it is tough. I do think, I think we're going to get as we mentioned. I think Demon Hour is going to come out of one of these quarters and make a match interesting, but it's so hard to go, non-Yannick or non-Carlito. Before last week, I really did think that Yannick on the hard courts, and I think I mentioned it to you, Gerard, on the side, like this guy just doesn't lose on hard courts. And maybe matches that he finishes, that's true. But Carlito under the lights, it's just a different level. And I think I changed my mind here. I think Carlos Alcaraz is going to win against Yannick Sinner and take the U.S. Open. So there you have it. Nothing nothing surprising. A couple Yannick pick and 2 Carlito picks. So now we can go a little bit more interesting onto the women's draw. We're starting with quarter 1, which is the Sabalenka draw. And here we go. So Sabalenka, Masarova is what it says in the top left. You have Rybakina in this area as well. You have Paolini. You have Raducanu. This is a loaded quarter. I don't know why they always do this. It's always like one loaded quarter on the WTA side, and then 2 that are kind of mid, and then 1 that's just like you can bet an unlimited amount of who's going to get through. With that said, Gerard, what matches do we like in this quarter, and what players maybe more dark horses to come out?
Yeah, I mean, just a ton of really good seeded players in this area. I mean, I look at just at the top there, obviously looking at Fernandez. I think she had a really good run a few years ago here. And I think she could also be someone to be pretty dangerous against Sabalenka potentially in that third round. I'll be curious to see Emma Raducanu and how she's playing. I know she has a lot of confidence right now. If she can keep going, maybe a matchup against Kudermetova in that second round and pull an upset. Like, I think that's possible.
Yep, I agree with you. Certainly keeping an eye on Leylah Fernandez. While she didn't play well this week, she had won in DC. That part of the quarter with Rybakina, Raducanu, Kudermetova, definitely challenging. And I honestly overlooked that Vondrousova is also, who's a slam winner, is also in this quarter, which is kind of crazy as well. It's just absolutely loaded. Jake, what matches are you keeping an eye on?
Yeah, this quarter has some juicy potential matchups down the line. Rybakina versus Raducanu in round 3 is a blockbuster. Raducanu's been playing pretty well recently, but she hasn't gotten a win against a truly elite player. So that would be an interesting one. In the first round, I'm looking at Ayala versus Clara Tauson. Ayala had a good tournament in Miami earlier this year. She beat Iga Swiatek. And then Tauson is someone I've had my eye on for a number of years, and she's finally started to play up to her potential. So interested to see how she does here. Yeah, no, I agree with you. From my end, I mean, now we're in the WTA side, so it's time to get a little bit different. I think truly, as far as consistency goes, I think it's really close on the WTA side, not just in this quarter. The 2 most consistent players, all season have either been Rybakina, especially the back half of the season, or Raducanu. It's unfortunate that they're in the same part of the quarter. I think Raducanu comes out of this quarter, pulls a couple upsets. I think she showed she can beat Sabalenka. It was really a couple points that made the difference. If Sabalenka can get to that point, again, she'll have a couple tough matchups in advance of that. But yeah, I think Raducanu comes out of this quarter as an unseeded player. Gerard, who do you like to come out?
Yeah, it's so tough. I mean, looking at it here, I think Jasmine Paolini looks pretty solid to me. I mean, you think about the run that she had in Cincinnati, playing with a lot of confidence overall. I feel like if she can get hot and have a couple of good wins under her belt, then I think she could run through this.
I love it. Jake, how about you?
I'm going with Rybakina. I think she'll take the Raducanu matchup in round 3. And then if she meets Sabalenka in the quarters, they've played twice recently, and Rybakina won one of them pretty convincingly. And then the other one was up 6-2 in a third set tiebreak before she kind of gagged it. So I like her in that head-to-head. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would say, almost go as far as saying is that I could certainly see the win. I mean, it's not surprising to say you could see the winner of this quarter coming through, to win the tournament. But
could really see the winner of that potential Raducanu, third round match winning the tournament as well. But while I don't want to forget, we also have, we have both Kudermetovas in this quarter, but Raducanu would have to face the good one in the second round, which is certainly not a walkover matchup that Sabalenka will have with the other one. Actually, she probably won't have it because she's going to get upset or she's going to lose. Anyways, on to the second quarter here, which is certainly less competitive, as you're about to see. In this quarter, we're going to have Jess Pegula as the top seed and Mira Andreeva as the other top seed. Other top seeds here will be Belinda Bencic, Emma Navarro, who's been, in a well of darkness of late. Sad for us Emma fans to see, but she is just losing every match, which is also good for the ascendance of Parks is back in the green. She's looking really good, but we'll get to Parks in a bit when we pass over that quarter. So interesting. And then you have Mboko, who won the Canadian tournament, which is the 1,000 tournament. Really solid for a young up and coming player. Former multi-slam winner in Krejcikova in an interesting first round matchup. Jake, what are the matchups you keeping an eye on?
This quarter kind of feels like a free-for-all. In the first round, definitely looking at that Mboko versus Krejcikova matchup. I think that's pretty intriguing. I saw Mboko as like minus 215 on the money line, and Krejcikova was plus 180. That feels a little disrespectful to me since Krejcikova is a two-time slam champion. And then we've been talking about Diana Yastremska in the Discord a little bit recently, so definitely interested to see how she looks early on. I think she could give Jess Pegula a run for her money in the third round.
Yep, agree with you there. Gerard, who are we keeping an eye on? Oh, sorry, I didn't realize Parks was in here, and that's an amazing first round matchup.
Yeah, I know that's definitely the one I had circled on my list there. Two young players. Obviously, Parks she can get really hot and have a really good performance. Obviously, Andreeva has been pretty solid all year, so that one's a bit of a toss up in my mind, but definitely one to watch. Also have Taylor Townsend circled too. I think that'll be a good potential first round for her. Maybe get to that second round against Ostapenko and have a fireworks battle in that second round as well.
Yeah.
Townsend has had some good U.S. Opens in the past.
She loves the show. She definitely loves the show. Obviously a great doubles player. She's been playing with Shelton this week. They've been pretty hype. Rusic has actually been playing pretty well as well. She kind of just came on the map as of recently and has been winning a couple matches this week. Andreeva, I don't know if we've really seen her win a match since Wimbledon. So that's a little bit interesting. And then while Parks was on a losing streak this week, she is heated up. Obviously a win over Emma Navarro. I think she's still playing. So the one thing, whether you can see it as pro or anti, Parks is still playing this week. So hopefully she's not coming in too tired. Hopefully she can just take care of business and come into this match, motivated, confident. As Jake mentioned, Yastremska, certainly a dark horse. That's a tough first round matchup, while Pavlyuchenkova has not been playing well of late. Still tough. And I think it's hard to say the best first round matchup is not Krejcikova and Mboko. I actually do like Krejcikova to get through there with the upset. I just think it's just a letdown spot. Mboko coming over like a huge tournament win. She's going to be under the lights. Obviously, the fans are going to be behind her, as they should be. She's awesome to watch. But now you have expectations. It's just you're not playing with house money anymore. Mm-hmm. Gerard, who do you like to win the quarter?
Yeah, I think when you look at that section on the right, obviously it's a lot of talent there. And I think fortunately for Pegula, those folks on the right will kind of, self-select out and kind of narrow it down to the one good player for her to face. And I think JPEG comes through there. She's looking really solid, feeling some confidence. So I pick her to win the quarter.
Jake, who do we like?
Yeah, Pegula was my pick to win the U.S. Open at the start of the year, and she's not my pick to win the tournament now, but I do think she'll come out of this quarter.
Seems like we're all aligned here. I think she has a really good path. I think that oddly, which maybe I shouldn't be taking anything from, I watched a little bit of the mixed doubles. She actually, while she used to be a former #1 doubles player. She looked great, with Draper there. And I just kind of like her attitude and her demeanor. But this is also just a very, very winnable quarter. She's done well here. So agree with both of you. I think Pegula comes out of this one. Quarter 3. So quarter 3 is the Madison Keys and Coco Gauff quarter. This is where things get interesting. This is where we can have some debates. This is where we can really talk about it. So interesting, obviously Madison Keys, she's always loved the US Open. She's played well here historically, and now she is a Grand Slam champion. So something of note. Coco Gauff changes coaches right before the tournament. That's a little bit interesting. Yeah, I guess you can make the argument both ways. Somebody that's more focused exclusively on her serve, which really seems to be the only poor part of her game. So could look at it either way. Venus Williams also in it. Can't overlook that Venus Williams Muhova matchup. And then Naomi Osaka, who's finally found her game a couple weeks ago, I think could be quite interesting here. Jake, what matches you keeping an eye on? Dark horses that have caught your eye?
So I've definitely got my eye on the 2 matches at the bottom of the screen, Venus Williams versus Mukova. I'm assuming that is going to be a night match and the crowd will be on Venus's side. But if Mukova's on, this feels like 6-2, 6-2 for Mukova. She's just a couple levels above where Venus is right now. And then Gauff versus Tomljanovic is an interesting match as well. And Tomljanovic beat Serena Williams a couple years ago in Serena's last tournament. So she's been in a situation before where she's against the crowd, and Gauff hasn't looked all that good. So I think that could be a tight one. And then if we go a little bit further up the bracket, that Rakimova versus Caroline Garcia match, I think is also an interesting one. This is Garcia's last year before she's going to retire, and she just hasn't been all that good. So I don't think she's going to be around very long.
This is like the retirement quarter. Like, I don't know how many more US Opens we get out of Venus Williams. It's Kvitova's also her last tournament. And then, yeah, you just highlighted Caroline Garcia. So it's a little bit interesting. Gerard, who are we keeping an eye on? What matches do we love this for this quarter?
Yeah, this is kind of to your point, a star-studded little section here. Yeah. A lot of big names.
It's a very US Open quarter.
Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, I think in addition to what Jake mentioned, obviously Naomi Osaka, it's really, really cool to see her as a seeded player this year. And I think I'll be following along to see how she does this tournament. I think she could make a little run here, hopefully, and maybe get to a 4th round. So like that first round up a matchup there for her against the Belgian. And then also looking at Haley Baptiste. I mean, another American player, just super popular, really big game. I think if she can get hot that first round, she can make it a little bit of an interesting second round matchup for Osaka.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, as much as it's star-studded, this is just a very deep draw, too. I mean, you have Peyton Stearns, who in any given match could get a little bit interesting. Siniakova, best doubles player in the world. Kostyuk has proven that, and she can play really with anyone. Katie Bolter as well. Noskova, Eva Leis. A lot of these players, and Circeas, who's having an amazing tournament this week. So there's really a lot of depth to this quarter as well. And sorry, not to forget, Dasha Kaskina is also historically always top 15, 20 player and has made quarter runs, 4th round runs. So it is certainly going to be an interesting quarter. Jake, who do we like to win the quarter?
Naomi Osaka. It looks like she started to find her game a couple of weeks ago. And if she's on, I think she's much better than everybody else in this quarter, except for Coco. And Coco's serve isn't there right now. So I think it's Naomi.
And let me ask you, if she's playing the game you saw a couple of weeks ago, take out the final, because I think that or take out the second after the first set of the final. Do you think she could win this tournament if she keeps up that level of consistency?
I think she could. Naomi on her A game is favored against anybody in the field except for Sabalenka and Swiatek.
Interesting. And Gerard, who do we like to win the quarter?
Yeah, that's tough. I think Madison Keys is looking pretty solid. I mean, I think if she can end up in that quarter against Coco, I think she might be able to edge her out, especially with the serve looking a bit more solid than Coco's right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I feel like you have a lot of great players in this quarter that are not playing their absolute A game, which kind of keeps it open for a player like Osaka to win. This one was really close for me. I'm going to take Keys to win the quarter as well. I'm not sure if it's against Osaka or Coco Gauff. Truthfully, I'll be able to tell you after that first match with Coco Gauff, if she's serving, if it's not 15 double faults, she just is probably going to go to the final. But I really just need to see what that looks like. It's been a weird couple weeks with her serve, with the rest of the game clicking. The other thing about Coco and that side of the draw is like you have a potential against a Vekic or a Buzas Monero, who's a challenging matchup, and then again you'd have potential to play an Osaka or Dasha Kasakina in advance of playing a Keys or a Muhova. It just is a tough quarter. But yeah, I think Gerard, we're aligned. Keys, Goff, and then Jake. I could certainly see a scenario where Osaka comes through this quarter. And then we're on.
See a scenario where Osaka loses in the second round. So
that's also very true. A Baptiste or a Siniakova could make it interesting. It's really like if her mental game is there. But I think to her advantage, she'll have the crowd behind her this whole tournament. Honestly, as much as the crowd will love Coco Gauff, if it ends up being a Coco Osaka match, it'll be interesting to watch what the crowd does. It might be the first time that it gets a little bit split. The fans love Osaka. They really do, especially in New York. So I hope we get that for our sake. And then on to quarter four. So quarter four would be Iga and Anisimova as the top seeds. Iga's obviously coming off playing extremely well in Cincinnati. I'm not sure if she's having an affair with Casper Ruud. There's been a lot of weird things happening in that doubles while he's engaged. I think they both grew up in the Nadal Academy, so maybe they're just friends. Additionally, you have Alexandrova and Svitolina. Honestly, it may be as simple as Iga's got this quarter in the bag. Gerard, what are you thinking as matches to highlight?
Yeah, this is a section that looks pretty dominant for Iga. I think, seeing how she plays in that first round, if she doesn't double bagel her opponent, then we'll see what it looks like. But I like seeing Clervy in that first round there against Kalinskaya. I think that'll be a fun one to watch. Obviously, she'll have a lot of that U.S. support here, rooting for her in her first match. Also interested to see what Danielle Collins looks like. I know she's had some injury issues, especially at Cincy, and so if she's 100%, then she can have a really good run in that little section. But if she's not, it obviously would be a sad way for her to go out. But that's what I'm watching as well.
Jake, what matches are we keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so Danielle Collins versus Sophia Kenin potentially in round 2, I think is interesting. Two Americans who haven't been at their top level in a little while. Maybe one of them can find it. And then I'm also looking at Maria Sakkari versus Tatiana Maria as a potential fun first round matchup to watch. But I think I agree with Gerard that Iga's probably just going to roll this quarter.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you both. I do think the interesting match would be Kalinskaya and Clervy. Kalinskaya has played really well this whole hard court season. She's really found her game, back from some injuries over the last year, maybe breaking up with Jannik Sinner and finding herself. We're like TMZ of tennis too. We'll add in some stuff too. I don't want to forget Svitolina in this quarter. Obviously, I've been a big fan this year. Mrs. Monfils, she's played really consistently. She's not dominant on hard courts, but I think this is it's pretty. I wouldn't say seamless, but she should be able to get to a point where she can play Iga for who wins the quarter. And they're friends. I think that they have some decent head-to-head history, but it's any given match. I think she could potentially take it there, but just don't want her to be forgotten here. Gerard, who do we like to win the quarter? Is it as straightforward as Iga?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Anisimova there, obviously we didn't talk much about her. She's been struggling a little bit in terms of form, and you get double bageled in a final, that has to do something to your confidence too. So I don't see her going super far here. I think Ika could just have a good time over here in this quarter.
Jake, Iga or nothing?
Yeah, I think Iga's going to win this quarter without losing a set. I think Anisimova can get to the quarterfinal, but she just lost to Iga 6-0, 6-0, and I think she'll win a couple games this time, but same match winner.
Yeah. For the sake of being different and just getting a little bit different, I'll take the 29 seed, Kalinskaya, to come out of this quarter. She's 100-1 to win this tournament. I think she's played as consistent as anybody, probably not named Iga, but I think she's really, really interesting in this tournament. She plays with a lot of confidence. If she can play healthy, I think that she can go toe-to-toe with anyone in the quarter. Probably not named Iga, but just to be different, let's do it. So we've gone through the 4 quarters. Who do we like to win the tournament, get to the final? Jake, who do you like to get to the final?
So I've got Rybakina versus Pegula in one semi, and then Osaka versus Iga in the other one. I'll say Rybakina versus Iga in the final, and then Rybakina will have had the tougher path to get there. She'll be battle tested. Rybakina wins the tournament.
Love it. Gerard, who do we like to get to the final in the tournament?
Yeah, I think I have at the top Paolini against Pegula in the semis, and then Keys versus Iga in the semis at the bottom there. I could see a Pegula getting back to the final, going up against Iga this time, and I'm going to say Iga takes it.
All right. I love it. I think we're going to have 3 different final winners. So I think we're going to have an All-American final. I think we get a Jess Pegula, a Madison Keys.
Nice.
And I think we see Jess Pegula win her first slam. I think that it's just her time. She's been very close. And she may be like the Zverev of the WTA, honestly. I'm just not sure. I feel like she wins so many tournaments. But this may be her time, and I certainly think this could be her draw. So that's it for us today. Any other thoughts? Gerard, you want to put a plug in for the Spin the Racket pod?
Yeah, sure. Appreciate that. Just started Spin the Racket. So more focus on recreational tennis, USTA leagues and everyday topics, fitness, nutrition, all that kind of stuff. But talk a little about the Pro Tour as well. But it's a fun time. We just chatted up a little bit.
Yeah, so definitely go check out Spin the Racket on, what are you on, Spotify, Apple Music, all that sort of stuff.
And YouTube, yeah.
Go check it out. It is a good listen. If you want to, talk shit about pickleball, it's a good place to go do that. No, it's awesome. Jake, appreciate you joining, my guy. It's awesome to talk tennis with you. And I'm glad that we feel pretty aligned in a lot of things, at least in the early rounds, because I would have had to question myself with if you did feel differently. But always good chatting with you guys. Appreciate the time, and let's have an amazing U.S. Open. We have a Sunday start this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Appreciate it.
Sunday start. Now we just got to get the men's final moved up a day as well, so it's not on the first Sunday of the NFL season.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, geez, you need to increase the viewership, and I mean, Yannick and Carlito will probably get there regardless. But listen, it was good catching up with you guys. Cheers, happy Friday, and hopefully we get an amazing U.S. Open. Gerard, see you next week in New York, my guy.
See you there.
Take it easy, guys.